Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're going in-depth on the ballot questions in advance of the November 4th election. In this segment, we're giving some background about a ballot question that will be before voters who live in towns in the Cape and Islands State Senate District. The non-binding question asks to expand the radiological plume exposure emergency planning zone around Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. The zone is now 10 miles, and the expansion would extend it to include Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. I'm talking with Donna Calabrese, Emergency Planning Manager at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station in Plymouth. Thank you, Donna, for talking with us today.
It's my pleasure, Laura. I'm glad to be here with you.
Let's start with an overview of what elements of emergency planning you're in charge of at the plant.
Okay, so emergency planning at nuclear power stations involves some key aspects. One is we have plans and procedures that we follow. Two is that we have a strong training program. Three, we conduct regularly scheduled drills so that we can demonstrate our capability. And four, we have a strong partnership with the off-site response agencies, so that are the local governments and the state agencies. So that's what I'm responsible for.
And so going through each of those one by one, can we go a little bit more in depth on each of those four elements?
Sure. We have plans and procedures. So every station has an emergency plan and procedures that they use to implement should we ever have to use them. All of our workers receive training on the procedures. That includes our operators, and as I'm sure most folks know, our operators are in training 1 week every 6 weeks. So they're constantly in training so that they know how to operate the plan and respond in case something goes wrong. Our non-operators, the regular staff, gets trained quarterly in drills, and we have annual training classes that need to be completed. We do drills, as I mentioned, quarterly, and these drills we respond to an event. If you've ever been to our simulator, you'll know what that looks like. It looks just like the control room, and we come up with a scenario that puts the operators in a position where they need to respond to conditions, and they activate the emergency response organization. So folks from the station respond as if it was a real emergency, and we determine what the conditions are, what the problems are, how we would fix them, and support the operators in the exercise. We also evaluate these drills. We do evaluations ourselves. We have the NRC evaluating our drills, and FEMA evaluates the off-site agency responses. And we work, as I said, with the off-site response organizations. We work with the state, and they have a full plan for response to an emergency, and each of the towns in the emergency planning zone has a plan too, and we interface with them.
And can you explain the emergency planning zone, where that is, and how you come up with that, or maybe it comes from the federal government? I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, the emergency planning zone is a 10-mile zone from the plant site, so that's established by NRC regulations. It goes 10 miles out from the station in a circle.
And is that 10-mile zone the same all across the country for nuclear power stations?
Yes, it is. That's what's been analyzed, and that's what the NRC has for recommendations.
And you've talked about the different aspects and elements of emergency planning that you deal with, and then that there are these systems in place in case there are emergencies. How extensive are those systems that you have in place?
So we have the plant equipment. So plant equipment is designed with redundant capability so that if we have some trouble with one system, we always have backup. And that's designed into the plant for safety purposes. When we do our drills, we kind of we push it. We create multiple failures, which are extremely unlikely. But we would create multiple failures so that we could come up with a situation that. While it's highly unlikely, we want to make sure that folks are able to respond to it.
And you prepare for emergencies. You said one way is through a simulator, and how does that all work?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't understand, we have a simulator that is an exact replica of the control room, and the operators go through training. As I said, they spend 1 week every 6 weeks in training where they perform normal surveillances. They also get challenged for how they would respond if they had any problems with equipment, and how they would execute their procedures in an emergency. So it's an extremely robust process. They also sit and, have classroom training and exams, and then they have to take exams issued by the NRC every 2 years. So that program's pretty robust, and that's the same across the nation.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. As part of our coverage of the ballot questions in advance of the November 4th election, we're talking to Donna Calabrese, the Emergency Planning Manager at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station in Plymouth. One of the ballot questions is a non-binding question asking to extend the radiological plume exposure emergency planning zone for the Pilgrim plant. We're giving some background on emergency procedures at the plant. Donna, how does Pilgrim interact with emergency planners in towns near the plant, and also how does it interact with Cape Cod emergency planning officials, if at all?
Well, the key participant for us is the state. So MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, is the lead agency that we deal with, and they have a comprehensive plan for the state, which includes annexes for each of the towns and how they would respond. So our main interaction is with the state of Massachusetts, and then we also interact with the local towns. We participate. They participate in drills with us so that we can practice. We have meetings to make sure that everybody understands any changes that we might make at the plant, and we also do some funding so that they can develop their own training programs in the towns to make sure that they're prepared in the event of an emergency.
And I would think over the years emergency planning has gotten so much more advanced. Is that the case with nuclear power station emergency planning as well?
Well, we upgrade our systems and we upgrade our processes, but we have always been tied to the principle that nuclear safety is our number one job. And we practice, and we train our people to respond in the event something goes wrong. So while technology may change, I may put in a new computer system, the basic tenets remain the same, that we are all here to ensure that we operate the plant safely to protect the health and safety of the public and the workers.
And what do plant officials advise people who live near the plant to do to be safe in case of an emergency?
Well, we advise folks to listen to the local emergency broadcasting system. And, we do distribute the calendars that list the radio stations, and it also includes the Emergency Management Agency phone numbers if they need information.
And if there were to be an emergency, what are the procedures in place? How would the steps unfold? What would you do first, in other words?
Okay, so the first thing that would happen is the operating crew would have to recognize that there was something wrong. They would go to their procedures. If we were in the emergency plan, they would classify the event based on what the conditions are. They would notify the state, and the state notifies the local towns of what actions they're recommending. We also activate our entire emergency response organization so that everybody that's a trained responder at the plant is activated to respond to the event. The state is the agency, though, that makes the direct decisions on what to do if you're a member of the public.
There have been a number of shutdowns at the plant over the past year or so. Do you get involved with planning having to do with shutdowns and what to do in case of shutdowns?
Well, I think what you're talking about are some issues that related to some maintenance work that needed to be done. So, we may shut down the plant to do maintenance or for some other evolutions, but that is not tied to emergency planning. Those are not emergency situations.
Are those the types of things that are expected in a plant such as this, and you just plan for that the way you would plan for other everyday type events?
Correct. So, if you have to do maintenance on a piece of equipment, certain things require you to shut the plant down. Others we can do with the plant running at full power.
Now, as an emergency management director, do you get involved with liaisoning with perhaps health officials throughout the Commonwealth or in the area near the plant?
Well, we interact through MEMA and the health officials through the state.
Are there any emergency planning procedures that you recommend that towns do that are near the plant?
No, I would just recommend that they follow the recommendations from the state and their own internal plans. They are a talented group of emergency directors in this emergency planning zone and they execute the plans the way they're written, the public should feel confidence in the recommendations that they get from the state and their town officials.
And I understand that with regard to this ballot question, the plant is not taking a position on that, neither are you. So this is the radiological plume planning zone of 10 miles. Is that true? You're not taking a position on this issue?
That's correct. The years of analysis that have gone into developing the 10-mile planning zone are what we stand behind. That's what the NRC has recommended, and I believe that does ensure the public safety.
And is there anything else you'd like to say to the public about emergency planning with regard to the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station?
Well, I would just like the public to know that there are 600 people that work here at Pilgrim Station, and it's key to us to ensure the safe operation of the plant. We all have families and children in the community, and we want the public to know that we are a dedicated group of professionals that work hard to run this plant safely and to be good partners in the community.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. I've been talking with Donna Calabrese, Emergency Planning Manager at the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. Donna, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Well, thank you, Laura. It was my pleasure.
We've been talking about the ballot questions in advance of the November 4th election. In this segment, we were talking about the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant because of a question on the ballot in some towns to increase the planning zone around the plant. For more on this topic and the other ballot questions and on candidates in local contested races, go to our website, capecod.com, and click on the election banner. I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.